Hello, comrades and peers. After my trip to Leipzig for the 210th anniversary, I will present you a few pictures of the reenactment and the rough context of this battle. A travel report into the past. After the disastrous Russian campaign in 1812, the Allies took the initiative and formed an alliance against France. Prussia, Russia, and Austria agreed in June 1813 on the Trachenberg Plan. No Allied army should confront Napoleon direct and without support of the other armies. They had learned from their experience, and the goal was now to overwhelm Napoleon with superior forces. At Dresden, in August 1813, Napoleon managed to defeat the Allied army again, but did not significantly weaken them. The defeat of other French corps, Vandamme and Ney, made his situation worse. Therefore, in October, he moved back across the Elbe to Leipzig. Already on October the 14th, there was a heavy cavalry engagement near Lieberwolkowitz, when the Allies tried to forcefully scout the French movements. Both sides retreated over the night, and at the point the Emperor assumed that he was only dealing with the Bohemian army. The approach of the Prussians from the north was still unknown to him. On the 15th, more troops arrived for both parties, but otherwise things remained quiet. This changed in the morning of the 16th, when the Allies began to advance in the south. Three main battle areas developed over the course of the day. In the south at Wachau, in the north at Möckern, and some smaller engagement in the west at Lindenau. The Allies' attempt to tie down the enemy's main force and bypass them on the flanks south of Leipzig failed. Napoleon could reinforce his troops and tried to press in the right wing of the Allies with concentrated artillery fire and two heavy cavalry attacks. Even the Allied center came under pressure, but the expected French reinforcements from the north failed to materialize, and the hoped-for victory slipped away. Meanwhile, in the north, Blücher approached the battlefield and began recognition of the enemy positions as the fighting began in the south. Standing in the way was Marmont's 6th Corps, that secured the northern position, but was also intended as a reserve for the intended main battle south. It was thought that the Prussians' main force was still far away. When Marmont received the order to march south around 10 a.m., a considerable number of Landwehr were discovered approaching. The general decided to stop the enemy at Möckern. During the course of the day, there was some very heavy fighting that went back and forth throughout the day. At the end of the day, the Prussians managed to throw Marmont's corps out of position and drive them away. The next day, a Sunday, was rather quiet. After the battle, the surrounding area presented a terrible view of death and destruction, and the city was filled with countless wounded from the previous day's fighting. Both sides consolidated their positions, and the Allied commander met for council of war. On the night of Monday, October the 18th, Napoleon had his troops retreat to consolidate his internal lines. The next morning, the Allies marched forward and renewed the fierce attacks on the French. They were pushed back meter by meter towards Leipzig, but were able to continue to hold the lines. The French were now increasingly threatened by a possible encirclement in Leipzig, and the artillery ammunition was also running low. So the withdrawal from Leipzig was ordered that night, and around 3 a.m. positions in front of the city began to be cleared. The retreat of the French did not go unnoticed. On the morning of the 19th, the Allied troops advanced and prepared to storm the city. The French rearguard had orders to hold the city for another 24 hours, until midnight on October the 20th. But the city was clogged with wounded, fleeing and departing troops, and the enemy was closing in quickly. Disaster was imminent. The main route out of the city went through the Randstätter Tor, and when the bridge in front of the gate was accidentally blown up prematurely, there was no escape for many French soldiers. After the battle, typhus broke out in the city, bringing further suffering and death to the city's population and the wounded. Napoleon retreated to France with the remains of his army. Next year, Allies would take the war directly to France, and Napoleon would go into exile. So much for a brief summary of the events at that time. Thanks for watching, and till then.